And then, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm about to punch your head.
Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel. Oh, no. We got cameras falling down. We're falling apart as we start the show here, but we're going to get it back on track. Glad you're hanging out with us here on this Thursday afternoon. Cam Ursery and PJ Zuko along for the ride as well. We got so much to dive into on the show today. A lot of news to dive into. We're going to dive into some NFL playoff talk as well. I mean, yesterday we went through and determined what was the moment of the year inside of college football. But Cam, we got to start with some NBA news today because the Atlanta Hawks have given up on their experiment with Cam Reddish. They have sent him over to the New York Knicks in a trade that pretty much tells me they just wanted to get rid of Cam Reddish. They get a protected first-round pick, but the Knicks, a perennial playoff team now, probably going to be back end of the first round when you get to that pick. So maybe some talent, but probably not someone as talented as Cam Reddish. What's your read on this trade?
I like the trade as far as for Cam Reddish's purposes. Like, he's going to a team that suits him where he could, rock out and have fun. But as far as for the Hawks, they're kind of telling us like, hey guys, we're not making the playoffs this year. They're the 12th seed. The Knicks are at 11, but they're tied for, I think, 9th. So that might be a lottery pick. It might not, but it's not looking too good for those Hawks, man. I know Trae Young's a little upset, and John Collins, I don't know if you can move that contract after, paying him those big bucks. So I woke up kind of like, it's good for Cam Reddish, but kind of bad for the Hawks.
So you're almost to the halfway point of the season here. You're 17-23, but I mean, with the expanded playoffs, you're 3 games out of the playoffs. Like, is it time to just throw in the towel right now? Or
no.
Is this just, could this have been a locker room thing where it's just maybe Cam Reddish isn't the person we need in the locker room right now? Maybe he just needs a new perspective, new point of view, change of scenery.
I think it could have been, definitely change the scenery. I know he wasn't happy there. He expressed that he wanted a bigger role, and he's a pretty good player. I think he deserves a bigger role. But as far as just cutting the season off and just saying, hey, we're going to go for a lottery, I mean, Hawks could still be a 7th, 8th seed or possibly a 6th seed if they get on a run. We saw where they went on the 10-game win streak.
They're the 8th seed that nobody wants to play.
Nobody wants to play the Hawks. If you're who's the 1 seed, Chicago, and you see the Hawks first round, that could go 7, and that could go either way. I wouldn't want to see Trae Young in a series. So you still have Trae Young. I believe a top 15 player. He could sometimes crack top 10 when he wants to. I wouldn't just, say the season's a wash. Just still go all for it. I think they need to go to the trade deadline and pick them up a guy that could actually be beneficial.
Again, the Hawks have traded away Cam Reddish, currently 6 games under 500 right now. And it's been a weird year, right? You've had a bunch of guys hurt. Your head coach, Nate McMillan, out for an extended period of time, dealing with COVID-19 policies. So it's just, there's been a lot going on with the Hawks. But again, I think a little premature to start saying it's time to start looking at the draft. We're not even halfway through the season and just 3 games out of the expanded NBA playoffs. Still no news on the baseball front since a couple days ago. And I guess the good news a couple days ago was they were actually talking to each other. So we're just kind of in a wait and see approach to see if there's going to be the first work holdout in a quarter century. I know a lot of people are like, well, what about COVID? That doesn't really count, I think, as a work stoppage. That was more about arguing about how you were going to start it, more so than a contract stoppage. So waiting to see if you can avoid the first one in 25 plus years there for Major League Baseball. So we'll keep you updated on that. But we do know the NFL playoffs are coming. I wanted to ask you guys, I always approach the NFL because my team, the Atlanta Falcons, typically aren't in the playoff. I always approach the NFL playoffs via storylines. And so like when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for guys that I'm really pulling for, teams that I think are cool. What are some of the guys that you're looking at in the playoffs that you're really pulling for in these NFL playoffs?
Honestly, am I good? Am I good here? Okay. Honestly, it's.
I mean, you're good on the mic. I don't know if you're good.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But I'm good on the mic, which is great. I just wanted to make sure of that I know things were crazy there at the beginning, but I'm actually like, I know they kind of went all in and everything, and that makes a lot of fans. That kind of turns a lot of fans off when it comes to a lot of star power on one team, whatever. But I'm kind of looking forward to the Rams, seeing what they can do and seeing specifically what Matt Stafford can do. I mean, he's just
PJ, an adopted Georgia fan.
not
Welcome in, brother.
necessarily. I just always respected his game and his skill level, and I thought he was always kind of underrated and looked over, depending on, I guess, who you were talking to, right? So now he has all the weapons around him. He has the defensive weapons as well to aid him on that side of the ball. Let's see what they can really do. Now, I know there have been some strange losses for them. Not every week have they played to the best of their ability, but it's the NFL, right? You're going to have weeks and games like that. So I'd say the Rams 1 and 2 actually sticking in the NFC. I'd say the Cardinals too. I know they kind of went through their own slow thing when DeAndre Hopkins went down mid-year, but I feel like they really turned it back on there later in the season, and can't wait to see what Kyler Murray and the rest of that. It's a lot like, I feel like we have a few different teams in the NFL where a couple years ago it was the Kansas City Chiefs were just playing basketball on the football field.
Yeah.
It was just all over the place, and I feel like now we have a few teams like that, and Arizona is kind of one of them. So
Agreed.
I think they're going to be fun to watch too.
I think they might get bounced in the first round. Who are you looking forward?
They might, yeah.
Who are you looking forward to watch, Cam?
Actually, man, Tennessee.
Really?
I think I remember coming here and say I think they were my Super Bowl pick. I said Green Bay and Tennessee. I think if Derrick Henry comes back, I'm excited for him. And our own man Jet Jones, Julio Jones, if he can stay healthy, I think he'll be beneficial for them in the playoffs. But I'm rooting for Tannehill though. I don't know if he'll be able.
Can I ask you why?
I mean, really mainly because of
maybe the first person of all time.
I mean,
ever said that.
mainly because of Julio. I really want to see Julio just, if not win one, get another chance at one. And I think, well, obviously this is his best chance. I mean, Tennessee is really, really good, and they've put it on people. They beat Kansas City 27-3. Nobody knows about that. Nobody talks about that. So I would say Tennessee, and then obviously you go to the NFC. My main man, who I think is the boat.
A lot of main men.
No, this is the main man of all main men.
The one.
The boat. Not the GOAT, the boat, Aaron Rodgers.
Excuse me. The boat has already retired. His name's Drew Brees.
Oh, no. Stop it. I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees. And I know you would. I know you would too. I know you, Christian. You definitely would take Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees if you could.
Depends.
Depends on the scheme.
We could do a whole show on that. But no, I'm really looking forward to watching Joe Burrow. Number one, the Bengals did an unbelievable job on their new uniforms. Those things.
True.
They took. I was about to say they took what was already a really cool uniform and they just kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What's the the home decor style? The minimalist. It's just kind of a minimalist uniform.
Yep.
But it still looks cool because you have the same helmets. So, and I love Joe Burrow, right? Dan Orlowski actually tweeted this out yesterday. Says Joe Burrow has played in 6 have-to-have-it games in his career. 4 of them at LSU, Bama, Georgia in the SEC Championship, Oklahoma, and Clemson, and then 2 so far with the Bengals this year against the Ravens in Week 16 and against the Chiefs in Week 17. In those games, Joe Burrow is 6-0 with 2,669 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and the most important, 0 interceptions.
Yep.
In those games. So when Joe Burrow has to have it, he's that dude. And then when kind of struggles last year, has obviously the season-ending injury. They go out this year, take his wide receiver in the top 4 and Jamar Chase, bring him in, and then he just set every kind of record that there is. Unstoppable, already a top 5 receiver in the league. I would argue Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, already in year 2.
Yeah.
I mean, name 5 that are better.
You can't.
No, it's hard to, especially when
I think I hate to say it, but he's played better than Herbert this year for sure.
I don't think that's a question.
And Herbert's had a
Especially
great year too.
yeah,
But Joe
down the
Burrow, he's been
stretch, though,
unbelievable.
yeah.
Ooh.
Well, one of them's still playing.
Yeah, one of them still playing,
And
exactly.
the other one's not.
But can you agree with me this though? Coach Taylor, he deserves Coach of the Year though. I mean, without a doubt. He had the number 4 pick, and then you take the Bengals to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think through the entire NFL right now. What's the gentleman's name who's the interim coach with the Raiders?
That's
Oh yeah, I mean
one,
that's big time.
Yeah.
I would kind of lean towards him too. Other thing I'm looking forward to watching, Jalen Hurts against Tom Brady. It is the biggest age difference in quarterbacks in the history of the NFL postseason, and I think the Eagles can win.
Whoa.
It's a possibility. I mean, honestly, like they get a bad rap because of the division they're in, and they play a scrappy brand of football. But like I saw the other day, the Eagles have scored the most rushing touchdowns in the history of their franchise this year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so like they are a scrappy team, but maybe that's the type of team you need to beat Tom Brady.
And listen,
It's-
I know you got all
could
the
be crazy.
playoff experience with Tom Brady and Gronk and those dudes. They won the Super Bowl last year. Number one, it's so hard to repeat. It's so hard to repeat any
Yeah.
level, any sport. I mean, we saw Alabama. They made it all the way back to the championship this year. It's so hard to
Mhm.
repeat as champs. But you talk about postseason experience, might not be in the NFL, but I mean, how many postseason games did Devonta Smith play in when he was in college? Like all of them?
Yeah,
All
Yeah.
4 years.
Like
basically.
Well, 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
But I
long
mean,
time. Yeah.
caught the greatest touchdown pass in the history of college football.
Right.
And like now he's too small. He's not gonna be able to do it. He's just cooking people in the NFL. Had an amazing catch a couple weeks ago with a toe tap. I'm excited to watch the Eagles. I think that's gonna be really fun to watch. I think San Francisco, Dallas
Oh, San Fran.
might be the most you only finish. Might be the most overrated. It's a helmet game, right? It's a helmet game. The
Oh,
only reason
man.
the only reason you want to watch that game is because it's the 49ers and it's the Cowboys. Right? It doesn't matter who's wearing the uniform. It's a helmet game. You're like, oh man, this looks cool. This reminds me of like the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only reason you care about this game. The Cowboys are going to win that game by like 20 points.
right?
Whoa.
Well, like,
San
'cause-
Fran is winning that game.
Cam.
Really?
Book-
Cam.
book it.
See,
will
that's
bet
the thing,
lunch.
Book
man.
it.
I will bet lunch.
I
Look
think
at that
like
lunch.
it's
No,
pulling.
I really think they will win.
You look at the rest of the media too, like you said, it's pulling people. The old school matchup is pulling people in,
Yeah.
and like kind of like I was talking about Michigan at the end of the year. Although I mean, I guess they did make the playoffs and beat Ohio State, but like I feel like they're tricking people. Like
Yeah.
they're winning a couple good games at the right time, and that gets everybody on board, and then they lay an egg. man.
Dallas is going to house the 49ers.
They still have Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback.
Yeah, they're
Let's
going to
remember that.
house.
That's the only
House.
thing that holds them
House
back.
the 49ers.
It's such a good roster.
If Trey
too.
Lance comes out and just has like a weird game in the playoffs, maybe. But
Dang. I mean, I'm not a Jimmy G fan, but I don't believe in Dallas. I think losing Michael Gallup hurts.
it might be like I saw on ESPN's their Twitter page. No, it's Facebook. I was on the ESPN's Facebook page. I don't know why I'm struggling with that. They had the highlight package from the 2014 college football championship with Ohio State and Oregon, and just watching Zeke Elliott run.
He's a monster, man.
That dude was.
Or it
you
was.
forget- I forgot that game was 42-20.
Yeah.
Because it was a close game until the end
For a
of
long
the
time.
third quarter, and
That
then
is
Zeke
true.
was like, "All right,
It
That's
was a
enough of that.
combination of things. Like Zeke, the defense wore down for Oregon. Marcus Mariota got hurt like in the middle of the third
Ohio
quarter.
State won that game. Ohio State won that game. At one point, they had a 5-0 turnover margin where they had turned the
Yeah.
ball over 5 times.
Yeah.
And Cardell got his Jameis on, like just dropping the ball.
He did. He did.
And I don't know why we're talking about the 2014 championship right now, but we are. No, I think there's a ton of fun storylines. I think, honestly, the game that's not being talked about enough is New England at Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Third time this year, you get to see those guys going head to head. It's going to be Buffalo in January at night.
Yeah.
That's going to be brutal.
It
Could
might
be.
be the coolest game. Especially,
remember-
it's
I
going to
mean-
snow, right? You think it's going to snow?
If it's not snowing, it's just going to be like frigid Arctic.
It's
Air.
going to be so.
A lot of
Yeah.
times they say it's warmer. I mean, PG, you're from the northern area. A lot of times, like it's warmer when it snows, just because it's like cold front meeting the warm front, which is where you get the precipitation. We're
Yeah.
dropping our meteorologist stuff on you right now.
So true.
So you get like the cold front meeting the warm front, and that's where you get precipitation, and so you get snow. So it's still below freezing,
Yeah.
but it's not 0 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly right. I mean, amazingly, you're right on point there. And the amazing
Why is
thing
that
about this
amazing?
game,
Because I'm from the south.
kind of.
I know what's
yeah.
up.
I know you're from Atlanta too, so you know a little bit about the snow. Like
Very
not
little bit,
all
yeah.
the time,
We had
but
snowpocalypse, and that's about it.
yeah, for sure. But the other interesting thing
Blue
about
moon.
part about this game is the fact that like, yeah, they've played 2 times this year, but the second time they played wasn't like it's hard to get a read and say that was at like a legit football game that we might see again this week, because it was a snowstorm, blizzard, wind going everywhere. I remember seeing the warm-ups where like kickers were kicking it and it would hit like the
Yeah.
10-yard line and just got flown to the other side of the field.
First time was weird too. Just 3 passes from New England. So I don't
That's
know
what I'm
what
saying,
to read
yeah.
from
So, like,
this.
I don't- How much do they really know each other? You know, even though it's the third time they're seeing each other. So it's gonna be fun. No, that's a really good one though.
Who would you
It's
guys
kind of
take?
hidden down there.
Who would you guys take in that matchup?
I'd take Buffalo still.
I don't know, man.
I
They've
can't
been so
I can't go
inconsistent.
against Bill Belichick, man. I can't. And they're
Well-
inconsistent too, but it's Bill Belichick.
I was trying to pull this up. All right, I find this fascinating because I'm just looking at the schedule right now and it has the ticket prices listed. These are playoff games.
Mhm.
These are wild card playoff matches. So I kind of went back and just like, all right, I don't want to do the national championship because obviously those tickets were exorbitant. But I wanted to see like, okay, what can I find that would be like a comparable matchup? What is the SEC championship? Just to look at ticket prices for this. The cheapest seat in Mercedes-Benz was $374 to
Yeah.
get into the SEC championship game. Looking right now, and this is Ticketmaster, you can go to New England at Buffalo for a wild card game. You got the Patriots against the Buffalo Bills in an NFL playoff game for $24.
Goodness gracious.
I think that might have a little
Yeah.
bit to do with temperature.
probably.
Dang.
But
yeah,
also,
they're
just
just
looking
trying
at
to
some
get
other
people
ones.
out there.
Vegas at Cincinnati. This is how you can tell Cincinnati's pumped to be in the playoffs. $163 is the cheapest one. Philly at Tampa Bay. Again, weather is going to be perfect outside at 1 o'clock in Tampa, probably like 85 degrees. 153. Cheapest one in Dallas is 137. Kansas City, I guess this maybe like the Braves thing when they went on that long tear of winning all the divisions. People just got tired of the first round,
Yeah.
and so they just didn't go. You can get into KC 8 o'clock primetime matchup against the Steelers for $80.
Well, it's also they just played, and that was a dismantling. Like
Mhm.
they crushed the Steelers. So how much
You
excitement
see
is
what
really
Big
around
Ben
that
said?
game?
Yeah,
They
he's
don't
like, yeah,
have
we
a
suck.
chance.
Yeah, he's like, we suck.
We don't have a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we suck. We're not good.
Well, thanks, Ben.
You know who?
Enjoy
that sounds
retirement.
like? You know who that sounds like? Our good friend Sean Quinn. For every game, for every game when he was a head coach for Savannah State. Well, they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. You know, we're just gonna have to show up, play them. They're probably gonna kick our butts. We'll see what happens. And then the Savannah State will win like 30-0.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers are dangerous. And you see who they activated?
What?
Juju.
Oh, Juju's back.
They activated him. We don't know if he's gonna play.
I don't know, man.
I'm a Chase
TJ, you
Claypool
are
fan.
a Steagles fan.
We'll see.
Resident Steagles fan.
He has to fit back in the lineup and build that chemistry again too. And I mean, defensively have to play well. Offensively, like we're getting to the point with Big Ben, if people are paying attention, where he's throwing like 30 something times a game, like 40 something times a game, and comes away with 150 yards. Like
Yeah.
everything is from 5 to 7 yards downfield, and they're relying on Najee Harris. There's a reason why the last home game they won against the Browns, in which will be most likely his last home game, he wins it and turns and says Najee Harris won us this
Yeah.
game. It's he can't throw for more than 150, 200 a game.
He's just trying to
anymore.
make it through these last few games, man.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
And
kind
you
of
can't
pulling-
have that against Kansas City. Like,
Still a legend though, man.
I don't know,
so-
man.
oh,
Kansas-
for sure. I mean,
KC has been weird lately. Like they sometimes can't get out of their own way, and the Steelers' defense has been pretty awesome this year. We got to take a quick break.
yeah, I
We're
won't
gonna-
say anything bad
gonna-
about them. Yeah.
we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the subject that like really no one's talking about right now, Stetson Bennett. Right? I mean,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything
Yeah, I
about
haven't heard
him.
anybody really mention his name. Now, I want to talk about an interesting dynamic that the Georgia program is now facing, centered around Stetson Bennett. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back, talk about that. Got some more NFL talk to dive into as well. This is Second Down on ESPN Radio. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cameron. What's so funny, PJ? What are you giggling about?
I'm really happy. So I'm wearing a headset right now.
Yep.
And I definitely just like went to put the headset on. You know how like rubber band, you're messing with it, whatever. Sometimes you
Did you smack yourself in the face?
just smack myself.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. I saw the video.
It's just
of,
like lost my grip on it
yeah.
for a second. Just boom, right in the forehead.
I saw a video of former producer Jim Johnson slapping himself in the face with a rubber band. That was great because he was kind of like sitting there. He had like kind of like you put it on your index finger and your thumb, and then you pull one side of it back, kind of like a slingshot.
Yeah.
And he was kind of sitting there messing with Kevin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to hit you in the face with this. I'm going to hit you in the face with it.
Yeah.
And it popped and it whips back and hits him in the face. And we had the cameras going on in the studio. And so I still have that on camera. Quick note here from Twitter. Travis John writes in. He says the Hawks need Brian Snicker to come in and give a pep talk. It worked for UGA. I mean,
Apparently.
could they use it right now?
Yeah, they could use a lot.
Look, Snick coming in like, listen, guys,
All I'm saying.
you just got to ride it out. You got 160. You got 80 games. Okay, you got
82.
80, you got 162. 82.
Yeah,
All right, so
82.
you can't panic. We were 500 at the All-Star break.
True.
And we won the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Can't panic.
Doesn't work that way.
He said,
With
Hawks, what
basketball,
you
nah.
really need is just to go like win one, all right, and then lose one, and then win, and then do that for a little bit.
And
You'll
then
be
we
all
got
right.
everybody
You'll
thinking
figure
you're
it out.
dead in the water. You just
Yeah. Well, let's be Snit. That's a really good point. Snit's 2 for 2 then
yeah.
with
No.
the championship.
Really, what
So,
you
I mean,
need is a Jock Peterson to come in there.
You need a lot.
Say you just might be.
How many people did they acquire? The Braves. A lot of people.
A
at the
lot.
Hawks can't do that. So
Hawks might be able to go out and get Jorge Soler. Like he might be able to play NBA
yeah.
basketball.
You go get LeBron and
who knows?
some other guys to come to the Atlanta, then you'll win one.
Oh,
There you
Russell
go.
Westbrook? I know you want.
Oh,
I know
okay.
that's who you
Oh,
want.
No, did you hear this earlier, PJ? Cam's in here saying like he almost caused property damage to his apartment based off Russell Westbrook's
Yeah.
performance last time. It's a regular season NBA game.
He's shooting 8 of 44 in the last 3 games.
Well,
You know
maybe
how-
how
that's
that's
a-
anymore.
That's a lot of bricks. You have to be. That's
It is a lot of
bricks.
36
Yeah.
bricks.
Let's
It
talk
is-
about fun things. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Stetson Bennett.
please, please.
Let's talk about Stetson Bennett. Let's get
That
away.
was fun. I mean, what do you mean?
That's kind of depressing. Cam just
Ooh.
seems real sad about that.
Understandably.
He gets pretty emotionally affected when you say Russell Westbrook. It is funny though because producer Jim Johnson moves on, and then we bring in Cam, and they're both just like Russell Westbrook stands. So it's weird how that works
It's
out.
very true.
I'm hurt. That's all I would say.
All right,
I'm hurt.
because you were really excited when they signed him, right?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you knew it was gonna look like this.
I went no, not like this though. I didn't know it was gonna be this bad.
All right, sorry, I was trying to pull us off of this. Let's talk about Stetson. Obviously, he's probably still sleeping and working off the hangover from winning the national championship. And when I say hangover, I don't mean figuratively. I mean literally. There's like pictures of him slugging down a bottle, $6,000 bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. There was an Instagram post that I thought was just hilarious, where he's at a bar in Indianapolis and it's just a tray of drinks and shots. And he says in the caption, he says, "Got an interview at 8 a.m. Pray for me." I'm like, my guy. And then we all know how that Good Morning America interview went.
Yeah.
But that being said,
Well,
Stetson Bennett,
my favorite part in the middle of that is like, oh, someone needs some sleep, and I'm like, I don't think that's the only problem.
well,
Like,
they can't
I don't
say
think
that
he's
on
just
Good Morning
tired.
America. That's a family show, not like our show.
yeah.
They can't say that he was just like absolutely zooted on Good Morning America. But listen, he might have just been tired.
Yeah.
He might. So this is
Very
just
true.
pure speculation. But I think Stetson might have had a couple of adult beverages.
Too much Gatorade, man.
That's right. I think he might have had Powerade. We don't drink Gatorade at Georgia.
Oh, my fault.
Powerade,
That's true.
PJ.
Okay, that whole thing.
Yeah, you need to take a big step back.
My bad.
All right, but anyway,
I got to stop. Someone's gonna start barking at me. Like,
you ain't lying. Ben's back in the studio for the first time since Georgia won the national championship. I had to point out, we go 2008. Can we go off on a tangent for a second?
yeah, we have been.
Good.
Let's come back to
All
it.
right. No, we are branching off of our branch. One of the things, like when your team wins a championship for the first time in a long time, it's kind of overwhelming, all the different emotions that you experience, but it's cool because you start realizing things that kind of come with it. Like we talked about this thing you put to bed 1980, but you kind of start to realize, oh, I can flip this on other people. And so
Yeah.
Ben, obviously being a Florida Gator, this is the first time I got to look at him today and say, Ben, all these years, you hit me with 1980, 2008.
It's a good feeling.
2008. And then all of a sudden, he starts changing his narrative where he's like, okay, well, as soon as you win 4-8, you come talk to us. And I'm like, all right,
Yep.
why are we changing the argument now?
Yep.
So anyway, got to hit Ben with that.
Because
No,
it's always got to come back to like you always have to have an advantage.
no, I mean, Kevin's favorite team remains a mystery, but his used to be his favorite saying was, oh, come talk to me when your team wins a national championship while you're alive. Well, now they've done that.
Yep.
And so he has completely moved his to, okay, well, we won national championships too. And I'm like, oh,
My father did the same thing. Oh, it's about time. I'm like, come on.
who's
man.
your dad a fan of?
Oh, Georgia Tech.
Oh, no.
Yes, he's like, oh, it's
Cam,
about
can
time
I
you
address
guys
your
won.
father real quick?
Yeah,
Mr.
of course.
Ursery.
I don't care about him.
Mr. Ursery, 1990, sir.
Yeah.
PJ, will you do me a favor? Can you hand me that Coke bottle that's right there to your left?
Coke bottle.
Or just, grab
This
that
one?
Coke bottle, hold it up to your camera.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just turn it around and show the people what that date says.
Yeah, this one. This
1990.
1990
The last time Georgia
national
Tech
champions.
won a national championship.
Right.
So it feels good. Let's talk about Stetson, though. Stetson Bennett wins the national championship with Georgia. I'm not going to say for Georgia because I think that kind of discredits what that defense did this entire season. But Stetson Bennett wins the national championship as the quarterback for the University of Georgia. The opportunities this dude has are going to be astronomical when he decides he's done playing quarterback, but there haven't been any announcements about that, even though that's probably going to happen relatively soon based off signing day. 2.0 is coming up, as well as the NFL draft declarations. You're going to want a decision on this soon. There's a lot of conflicting reports out there. I think the first thought is, why would Stetson leave if he has another year?
Yeah.
Like he's the starting quarterback at Georgia. He can come back and probably, and it's crazy to say that, but probably be the quarterback week one when he play Oregon. Probably. But when I say probably, I mean like 52, 53% chance.
Yeah.
Because there's some other guys, JT Daniels, Brock Vandegrift, potentially a transfer coming in, all kinds of stuff that could happen there. So option one is Stetson comes back. Other options are he's gone. Just walks away, right? He wins the national championship and he goes out and rides away into the sunset. Because literally, PJ, I don't think if you're just looking to go out at the highest level, like with your name and your name, image, and likeness, I guess is the best way to put it, at its peak value, it doesn't get higher than this. Because even if you come back after winning the championship, everybody knows your name, everybody knows you won the championship. As soon as you have a game where you go 15 for 27 for 150 yards, all of a sudden that starts, it's still way up there. It's still way up there, but it starts, kind of coming back a little bit. And then God forbid you get replaced and all of a sudden you're standing on the sideline. Does that start coming down even more? So it's like, do you just cash in on your name equity now?
Right.
And it's interesting because there are some reports out there that Stetson is ready to move on. But then David Pollack, I was listening to the ESPN College Football Podcast. David Pollack says Stetson Bennett's going to law school.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can go to law school and step away. But I mean, if you're going to be at Georgia,
right?
Maybe he's not going to law school at Georgia.
Maybe not.
But
that's a very good point.
If you are advising him, what are you advising Stetson Bennett to do?
Man, it's that's a difficult one for sure because, like you said, there's so many different things and moving parts. If I am advising him, I don't know. I would almost want him to come back because I get it. Like I completely understand what you're saying. Like there's only one thing that can come back and make that name and image and likeness any better than it already is, right? That's another championship. And that's not only that, but not winning. I'm not going to say they won in spite of him by any means, but they won, like you said, they won. That defense was dominant.
I think two things can be true at the same time, right? You won and Stetson Bennett played really well, but you didn't win because of Stetson Bennett.
Right.
Right. But I'm not saying another option on your team was better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm saying it's difficult to convince a guy and even try to convince a guy that has spent so long betting on himself in the realm of football, right?
Yeah.
To stop doing that. And is that necessarily what
I thought
you're asking him to do? I'm
I
not
thought
sure,
his
but-
post game comments were pretty telling, where he's like, Collie wrote asking like, "What would you tell a walk on?" And he's like, kind of like just in the euphoria of the moment, and he goes like, "I don't know, just tell him the same thing I told myself." He's like, "I told myself I'm the best quarterback."
Yeah.
So it's like, do you walk away from that?
Right. That's what I'm saying. How do you turn that off? How do you tell a guy to just automatically turn that off? And I guess you could play it and say, well, you are betting on yourself by walking away and having
No,
success.
I would say the opposite. I would say you're betting on yourself by coming back.
Well, no, that's what I agree with that. You're definitely betting on yourself if you're coming back, but people could also spin it and say, well, you're also betting on yourself winning a championship and then walking away from a team where you have another year of eligibility to go and make money.
Ooh, I don't know. I think Stetson right now has.
I feel like the world can change.
I think he's got offers on the table right now. That's like, listen, when you're ready,
Yeah.
let's go to work. Like Spencer Hall on Twitter, a college football writer, he put out jokingly, he was like Stetson Bennett Kia of Waycross. It's like, you joke,
right?
You joke.
I'm just saying the real world's insane, man. Unpredictable stuff happens all the time. So like, what if you leave another year on the table and for some reason just things don't go well?
I don't know, brother.
Yeah.
Like Buck Bellew turned like
It is what it
one
is.
of 11 in the national championship into a still ongoing multi-decade career on Atlanta sports radio.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure Stetson, if he wants to, he could probably do something like that.
Yeah,
You know, he
absolutely.
could do something in South Georgia, like whatever he wants to do. Dude has plenty of options. But I think it's funny going to law school, and Reese Davis even kind of laughed when Pollock said that. Imagine if you're in Atlanta, Stetson Bennett goes to law school, and it's like a injury law
Yeah.
firm, and it's like,
Right.
hey, you get hit by a car, call Stetson Bennett, man, we'll get you over the goal line.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude's gonna get any client he wants to.
Yeah.
At that, and any law firm that he wants to go work at would hire him. So I mean, he's got you won a national championship for the most important team in the state of Georgia.
No, I get what you're saying. But I just think either way it can happen. But no, I to answer the question fully and directly, I think it would be hard to try and turn him away from continuing to bet on himself as a quarterback, as a football player, and coming back and trying to win another championship. And not only that, but like you said, being the reason Georgia wins a championship next year. Maybe he wants to check that box too. Like, he was one of the reasons this year for sure. And I know a lot of people question the ceiling and whatnot that he has, but I feel like we've seen a lot of really good abilities from him. And if he can build on that throughout the offseason, and can, I mean, possibly, be the reason they come out and dominate next year instead of everyone always questioning you. So
I'll say this. I want to say the best bet for him would be just to write off, because the reality is, I think there's a more than likely possibility we get to week 1 against Oregon and all the same conversations are being had.
Yeah.
Like every single one. Stetson has a bad drive. Where's Brock Vandegrift?
well, I think
Where's JT
yeah.
Daniels? Where's Gunnar Stockton? And he's going to have to sit there and deal with that. And maybe it does get to the point where Brock Vandegrift has a whole offseason to play with, and he's just that dude. Or he's a 5-star coming out of Prince Avenue Christian.
Yep.
Right? So, like, maybe he's just, his talent is so overwhelming that it's very similar to a Justin Fields, Jake Fromm situation, right? Jake Fromm went off the field in the national championship with a lead. And if it's not for a blown coverage, he wins a national championship as a freshman. And then there's just a guy behind him that's that good, that the entire fan base is like, this guy's got that silly talent, right? But Brock Vandegrift will be a sophomore. So I think it's more likely than not that those conversations are still going to be being had. And Stetson Bennett, even after winning a championship, is going to have to deal with that all over again, whether he has a flip phone or not, which I think is interesting because he's posting IG stories from a flip phone. I don't know. Maybe he got his iPhone back after the national championship. I don't know. But he's going to have to deal with that if he comes back.
Yeah.
And so I want to say right off into the sunset, go get your 6-7 figure deal for work, make a crap ton of money before you're 23. Right. And probably like, I would guess like he might be able to get on a camp, like get on a team somewhere in the NFL, right? Maybe practice squad, something like that.
That's what I was getting at.
But
yeah.
he, if you're talking like, if he's just a love of the game, do it. But fiscally, he's going to make more money in the private sector. And so I'm saying I want to say right off into the sunset, but that doesn't sound like Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Like Stetson Bennett sounds like a guy who wants to play quarterback for as long as he can.
I could say it like this. It's like you could do whatever you want now. You've accomplished the national championship. you're never going to escape those doubts as far as if you come back. Oh, there's Brock, there's Gunner, there's JT. You're never going to escape that. But he's won a national championship. You could do what you want. If he tries to go pro and just what if he's a career backup? What if he's a career third string or practice squad and he's just having fun doing that? And he's like, okay, I'm ready to go into my career. He could do whatever he wants now. So if I give him the advice, I said, do what you want to do. If you want to go back, go back. Want to go pro, but you could do whatever you want and nothing's going to hinder you. Nothing's going to happen to you other than just none but success now. So
it's interesting. And I think we're going to find out sooner rather than later. This is not something that's going to linger for the next couple of months. This is going to be something we find out about in days or weeks, like really quick. We're going to find whether or not Stetson Bennett is going. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see what his decision is. But I think either way, dude is completely set up going forward. It's going to be really fun to watch. And he's already carved himself into the Georgia Mount Rushmore, in my opinion. So we got more to come here, though, on ESPN Radio. We'll come back. We got some more Georgia news to get into. It's you just won a national championship. Folks are going to start circling and trying to pick off pieces to make themselves better. We got some news to dive into from that. We'll do it next right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko and Cam Ursher. I had a striking thought while we were in the break there. We were talking about like job openings. You think I'm like get a call like sometime this week and say, Christian, we appreciate your time, but it's the Stetson Bennett show from 2 to 3 now.
Something like that. Welcome to what is it? The mailman, the post room.
Damn it. Welcome into
You're
the
giving
mailbag.
them ideas.
Yeah, like welcome into the
PJ.
mailbag. Stop it.
PJ's giving them ideas.
Oh, anybody's
man.
hiring.
I'd
I
say,
guess I'm
like,
looking.
The post office, but like, can you name it the post office? Is that like a government problem? Because like, you have the post office
That is a wonderful question. I
conflicting?
don't think post office is.
trademarked.
Yeah, I don't think that's trademarked by the U.S. government. That's
Post office from 2 to 3.
That's fascinating.
The mailman's
Why are you
mailbag.
doing this to my brain right now? Now I'm worried about my job. No, so the modern world of college football now is once the season ends, you're going to see players start moving to and from your roster very rapidly. And Georgia's seen some guys, Latavius Brinney, just the latest guy to enter the transfer portal. And you actually saw William Poole kind of replace him in the lineup. It was number 31 for number 36 for just kind of the casual fans watching. So Brinney, who played a really big role throughout the season and back in the Peach Bowl in 2020, he's entered the transfer portal. A couple of other defensive back have entered the transfer portal. Georgia's had like 10 or 11 guys since the national championship. Alabama, I think since the beginning of this year, I've seen like upwards of 30 players into the transfer portal. So it's becoming one of those management things where you're trying to control the flow both ways inside of your program. But more so than that, typically when you win a championship, and this has always been the case, people are going to try to come poach your coaches. And Kirby Smart's not going anywhere. And so you have to start looking down the list and say, okay, who's gone? Well, Dan Lanning was already gone.
Mm-hmm.
So you lost your defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach at Oregon. And apparently Todd Monken is the next guy. The general thought is Todd Monken is a guy who has NFL experience. He was the head coach at Southern Miss for a little while, but the thought is he wants to go back to the pros. And with all the openings now in the NFL, could we see him? It wouldn't be really a lateral move, but going from an offensive coordinator at the top of college football to an offensive coordinator inside the NFL. Jalil Adai, your defensive backs coach, he is a up-and-comer as well, and apparently he's being linked to a lot of programs inside of college football, maybe potentially as a defensive coordinator, and really just because of his recruiting abilities. You got him from West Virginia. He gets here, and then all of a sudden Tyke Smith is following him to Georgia. So it's going to be interesting to watch, but I mean, that's just the cost of success, right? You're going to lose your coaches.
Yeah, it's going to happen at some point for sure. And now the main thing is when that starts happening, and this is the next step, the next evolution of, I guess, building in Alabama in the East, right? I mean, that's basically, it's kind of, Kirby Smart's kind of taken the blueprint and now has beaten Alabama at its own game, basically. Well, this is the next thing that makes Nick Saban so insanely impressive is he goes in, he loses coaches after winning a national championship or even just having a good season, and he replaces them with sometimes better coaches. So now this is the next step, the next evolution, I think, in Kirby Smart's not only ascension as a great historic college football coach, but also just building a program and keeping it at the top.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch because, again, you're looking at what's going to happen with Todd Monken and who the replacements for Todd Monken could be. I really think Buster Faulkner, who is a guy who worked at Southern Miss with him and is currently on Georgia staff working with the quarterbacks, if you just want to promote from within, I think that could be a good move. Or do you see Kirby Smart go out there, like you said, kind of like Nick Saban did, where you go get the name guy, where you go get a Lane Kiffin, a Steve Sarkisian, a Bill O'Brien, someone like that to come in and run your offense. Cam, it ain't gonna be Dan Mullen, brother.
That would be cool.
That
would be so cool.
Oh
my gosh, that would be so cool.
Is his success kind of like past him though?
I don't think so.
I mean,
you look what happens when you give him a quarterback and a really good tight end, he absolutely toasts you and almost goes to the national championship. So, yeah, I mean, I can just tell you,
I know
based off relationships,
I know it's not.
It ain't gonna be Dan.
No, I was just being funny. I know it's not.
I will say this though: Dan Mullen had the most accurate prediction for how the national championship was going to play out.
How about that?
Yeah, he said it was going to be a dogfight in the first half with those dudes just kind of throwing rocks at each other. And then in the second half, he said Georgia was going to beat them in the fourth quarter.
How about
So
that?
Dan Mullen had
Were more points scored in the second half than the first half?
a lot more.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there
I got that
were 15 points scored in the first half. There was 27 points scored just in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, it
Well,
was
I mean-
9-6 at halftime,
Yeah.
right?
If he
Yeah.
did a really good job, and he's a college football analyst for.
All right.
You know,
Anyway, we got to go to a break real quick. We'll
maybe,
come back. Final segment of Second Down next. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Big show coming up next on 3 and Out. The guys can talk about the way too early 2022 top 25 polls. Georgia pretty much ranked third in all of those polls. Also going to catch up with Jeff Owens, former Georgia defensive tackle. PJ and I were just looking at some crazy stats from this Georgia defense from 2021. 50 out of 60 quarters, they gave up nothing. 0 points in 50 out of 60 quarters this year. And then if you take away all the touchdowns that were given up by Georgia's offense, i.e. pick sixes, fumbles, recoveries for touchdowns, stuff like that, defense only gave up 8.8 points per game. So we'll talk to Jeff Owens about that historically great defense, what it means to see Georgia win a national championship. Also going to catch up with Rob Wells, director of the Savannah Sports Council. You got the in-market Savannah Hockey Classic coming up this Friday. We will be there tomorrow at the Savannah Civic Center broadcasting live if you want to come say hey. And then make sure you stick around in the final hour. Andrea Adelson from ESPN.com going to break down Georgia's national championship along with John Stinchcomb, former Georgia All-American and Super Bowl champ, going to hop on and break down Georgia's win as well. All that coming up next right here on ESPN Radio. If you miss any portion of our show, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast.